Let's talk about the psychology behind why trauma survivors build walls instead of bridges. You push people away not because you want to be alone, but because being alone is the only time you actually feel safe. There is a silent pattern operating in the mind of anyone who has been through extreme situations. An invisible mechanism that dictates how you relate, how you trust, and most importantly, how you end things before they even begin. If you are a functional, intelligent adult who solves problems all day at work, but feels an inexplicable exhaustion when you need to interact deeply with someone, this video is not here to motivate you. This video is here to explain the architecture of your isolation. Most people look at isolation as a symptom of depression or antisocial behavior. They say you need to get out more, open up more, trust more. What they don't understand, and what perhaps you haven't even been able to name yourself, is that for your nervous system, intimacy is not read as affection. It is read as a threat. When you've been through hell, whether it was a dysfunctional home in childhood, an abusive relationship, or a sequence of betrayals, your brain alters its default safety settings. It learned through repeated pain that vulnerability is the gateway to suffering. This might sound like a punch to the gut, but you need to hear it. Your behavior of pushing away those who try to get close is not a character flaw. It is a highly efficient biological adaptation. You have become a survival expert. The problem is that the war is over, but you are still living inside a bunker. You continue operating in defense mode against people who are not attacking you, and the cost of this is extremely high. The cost is watching life pass by through bulletproof glass, where no one can hurt you, but where no one can touch you either. I'm going to show you what no one wants to admit about the dynamics of trauma. We're not going to talk about sadness. We're going to talk about brain strategy. You have developed behaviors that look like coldness, arrogance, or disinterest, but which are, in reality, automatic responses to a primal fear of being invaded, controlled, or hurt again. Since you are watching this video, you have already decided to stop ignoring the problem. But what comes next might completely change your view on this topic. Let's dissect the 4 pillars that support this fortress you've built around yourself, starting with the most contradictory concept of all, something that explains why you feel panic precisely when things are calm. Let's start by dismantling what I call the safety paradox. For most people, safety means having someone by their side, having a support network, having intimacy. For you, safety means predictability and control, and people are, by nature, unpredictable and uncontrollable. Your brain, at some point in your history, encoded a dangerous equation: attachment equals risk. This creates a biological reaction that you probably mistake for a lack of interest. You meet someone, the connection happens, the conversation flows, and suddenly, when the intimacy starts to deepen, you feel an uncontrollable desire to run. You start finding flaws where there are none, creating unnecessary conflicts, or simply ghosting them. What is happening here isn't that you stopped liking the person. It is exactly the opposite. And here we need to pause, because what I'm about to say is the root of your loneliness. I'm going to repeat this sentence because it can help change your behavior. They don't push you away because they don't like you. They push you away because they like you, and that is terrifying to their nervous system. When you like someone, you give that person the power to hurt you. For someone who has been emotionally devastated, giving that power to someone again doesn't feel like love. It feels like emotional suicide. Your limbic system, the part of the brain responsible for survival, detects vulnerability as a death threat. So it triggers the fight or flight mechanism. In your case, the flight is the silence, the withdrawal, the sudden coldness. It is your body trying to save you from a danger that isn't there anymore, but that your memory insists is real. This leads us to a second behavior that society loves to applaud, but which, in its intensity, is a symptom of trauma: hyperindependence. You probably pride yourself on not needing anyone. You are the one who solves, who pays, who carries, who executes. "I'll handle it" is your default phrase. But hyperindependence is not a sign of strength. It is a trauma response based on absolute distrust. The deep-rooted belief here is, if I don't need anyone, no one can let me down. You learn that asking for help is dangerous because, in the past, when you asked, you were either ignored or the help came with too high a price and emotional debt you weren't willing to pay. So you decided that total autonomy is the only form of real safety. You prefer to carry the world on your shoulders and suffer in silence, feeling the crushing weight of exhaustion, rather than admit weakness or owe anyone anything. Emotional debt is your greatest fear. You have turned human relationships into dangerous transactions, where receiving affection or help makes you feel indebted, vulnerable, exposed. And to avoid this exposure, you become an island. A very efficient, very functional island, perhaps even wealthy and successful, but completely inaccessible. You are surrounded by people, but no one has real access to who you are when the lights go out. This defensive stance creates fertile ground for the third mechanism, which is the Trojan Horse fear. Think of the story of Troy, the Greek gift that actually hit an enemy army. That is how you view kindness. People who have been through extreme situations, manipulation, narcissism, chaotic environments, have developed a hypersensitive and often uncalibrated lie detector. When someone is genuinely nice to you, when someone offers something without asking for anything in return, your internal alarm goes off. Your brain screams, "What does this person want from me? What's the catch? When is the mask going to fall?" Have you ever received kindness and immediately thought it was a trap? That it was just bait? And what do? You start to test that person. You subconsciously create drama. You show your worst side. You get distant or difficult just to see if they'll leave. It's a brutal endurance test. If they leave, you feel validated, right? See? I knew they couldn't be trusted. But if they stay, you get even more suspicious. Why are they putting up with this? What do they really want from me? It's an exhausting cycle where you never, ever let peace settle in because peace feels fake. You're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, always waiting for the betrayal. And in that waiting, you end up destroying connections that could have been real and beautiful. Just because your brain doesn't know how to process safety without suspicion. You might think you're doing all this to protect yourself, but there's a deeper, more painful layer to it: the fear of being a burden. So often, pushing people away isn't an act of arrogance. It's an act of toxic shame. Deep down, you believe your baggage is just too heavy. You feel like you're damaged goods, broken, or too complicated for anyone to handle. Your inner voice is saying, if this person really knew me, if they saw my traumas, my dark moments, they'd get tired and leave. So I'll just leave first. It's a twisted form of self-isolation that you disguise as love. You pull away to avoid contaminating someone else's life with your chaos. You look at their happiness and feel like you have no right to interfere with your problems. I'll deal with this alone, you say. Not because you're strong, but because you want to spare the people you care about from having to deal with you. It's a cruel kind of logic, where you erase yourself to protect others from your own existence. You convince yourself you're doing them a favor by disappearing, by not calling, by not opening up. But what you don't realize is that this decision to pull away makes them feel the exact same rejection that you were so terrified of. By trying to protect them from your weight, you deny them the choice to be with you. You decide for them, And that decision is always loneliness. I'm sure you've thought about this before, but understanding the problem doesn't automatically fix it. Knowing you're hyper-independent doesn't suddenly make it easy to ask for help. Knowing you fear being a burden doesn't make you feel light. Intellectual understanding is just the first step. It doesn't rewire the neural pathways of trauma. What comes next isn't a magic cure, but a conscious effort to restructure how you deal with the discomfort of human connection. This restructuring begins when you realize your biology isn't broken. It's just stuck in a time that's already passed. Your brain is still trying to protect you from a threat that is no longer in the room. Real change doesn't come from forcing yourself to be an extrovert or blindly trusting everyone. That would be reckless. Change comes from renegotiating with your own discomfort. You need to start asking new questions the moment that urge to run appears. When you feel the impulse to isolate, ask yourself, am I pulling away because there is a real danger, or because I'm feeling something I can't control? When kindness makes you suspicious, ask, do I have actual evidence of manipulation, or am I just projecting my past onto this person? It's not about tearing down all your walls at once. It's about building a door in them. A door you have the key to, where you control who comes in and who goes out. True autonomy isn't needing no one. It's being able to choose who you let in, without fear making that choice for you. Continuing to live in survival mode when the war is over isn't living, it's just lasting. And just lasting is exhausting. The cost of never being vulnerable is never being truly known. And being known with all your flaws and all your baggage is the only thing that truly calms the human nervous system. You don't have to fix everything today. But you do need to acknowledge that the absolute silence you're chasing isn't peace. It's just the absence of life. And maybe, just maybe, the risk of getting hurt again is the price we have to pay to feel alive again. Thank you for watching.